Hi legends, welcome back. Wow! You've seen the title. We are talking about part 2 of Married to Jonas, aka season 2. If you haven't already, I'd suggest you check my recap of season 1 of Married to Jonas because a lot went down. And I think it's good to have that season in mind when you're with me talking about this season. So anyway, this will be a long one. Again, go grab some popcorn, grab a snack, grab a drink, and then we can talk about this show together. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, check me out on my socials, and feel free to support me over on my Patreon. It really helps me put out these long-ass videos. Okay, we'll start with episode 1, Escape to New York. We are finally free of the with the in-laws titles. Because remember, if you were here for season 1, you'd have seen that every single episode said, like, with the in-laws, and I had no idea why that was a thing. But they got rid of that this season, and we've got a fresh start. The episode starts with Kevin, Danny, and Dina at a restaurant in New Jersey, and they're talking about future plans to move to New York City. Kevin is dying to move there, but Danny herself isn't so sure. And Dina, however, she is not happy really to hear the news of Danny moving. I mean, she doesn't make it so obvious, but you can tell a girlie seems sad about it. But Kevin argues that he really wants to move for privacy reasons because at the minute where they live in New Jersey, they are situated on the corner of like their street and people know where they live, so basically they've been doxxed. And Kevin then says he really just wants to be able to walk around his house naked, and fair enough if that's what you want to do. Fair enough. That's your right. So he wants to move to New York City because he believes he will have more privacy there. I don't know if I particularly agree, but then New York is known for being a place where no one really cares if you're a celebrity. So maybe the man is onto something. Rare, I know. Talking of homes and houses, the in-laws are actually moving into the Kevin and Danny residence at the minute because they're moving into a new house and it's currently being built from the ground up, so there's nowhere for them to live at the minute. So they have to move in with Kevin and Danny. That means Bucky, Angela, Katie and Michael, along with their 2 dogs, are coming to live with Kevin and Danny. Danny, shockingly to everyone, is very go with the flow about her parents moving in, and Dina and Kevin mock her for it.
Wow, look at what's
going on.
Who are you? Easy breezy. This is crazy.
You just wait until a fork gets moved into like the spoon section in the drawer. What happens?
She'll stab someone in the arm.
Like, okay, bullies. But I also love the dynamic between Kevin and Dina because it does give, like, siblings. It's really giving that they have that sibling bond, which is so sweet to see. Later on in the episode, Kevin, being 1/3 of the Jonas Brothers, plays Danny a new song that they are set to release. It's called Pom Poms, and it's quite a shift from what we were used to hearing back in the day, you know, their Disney Channel days and their albums after that. But it's a fun bop. I mean, obviously it's out now, we've all heard it. It was a big thing when it happened. And I think it's a good little moment. It didn't really stand the test of time, but it's a good little moment. As well as this, he talks to Danny about what the treatment for the music video for Pom Poms is. And Danny is fine with all of it, but she seems a tad hesitant when Kevin mentions there's going to be trashy cheerleaders in the music video. Whatever that means. But she's all like, what does that mean? Exactly, my thought exactly. And Kevin says it means ugly. They are ugly. So I just hope that, you know, if you were a cheerleader in that video, you were ugly. I'm joking. He's just trying to be sweet to get Danny to not feel bad about there being, you know, a load of women in the video. He also then says, like, to Danny if she wants to be his cheerleader in the video, which is really sweet, just to make sure that the cheerleader thing isn't really bothering her. They then have a sweet moment where they joke around about the whole trashy cheerleader thing together, and it's sweet. It's nice to see them getting along. Trying his best to persuade Danny to move to New York City, the 2 of them take a trip together down to the Big Apple, and Kevin takes Danny out shopping. One of the shops they visit in New York is Kate Spade, and I learned a fun fact here about Kevin, which I would not have expected in a Kate Spade store. Turns out he's actually great with yo-yos. Random, I know. But with Kevin, you've got to expect the unexpected. He was so good at it as well, he even entered a yo-yo competition back in the day. Didn't even know those were a thing. I feel like you have to be next level good at yo-yoing to be in a competition though. So yeah, he shows us all these tricks that he can do with a yo-yo whilst Danny's trying on clothes, and I was flabbergasted to see the talent he had with his fingers. Although I shouldn't be surprised, should I? I mean, he's a guitarist. Makes sense. He then, though, because of this little journey together, realises that one con of living in New York City would be the amount of shopping that Danny might want to do out there, because it's a very inspiring place to shop. But Kevin does go on to note that New York is more than just the shopping, it's about the experiences you have there, and you know what? Kevin again has a point. Over in the benefit store, though, we love a little makeup moment. Danny, Dina, Katie and Michael are all hanging out together. They get like a day to get their eyebrows done and get some spray tans. Dina doesn't even flinch whilst getting her eyebrows done. And then it's Mikey's turn. Honestly, he does handle himself very well though, because he's got some bushy gals on his head. And I know it probably hurt to have some of those removed. Like they were some thick strands, but he handles himself very well. I love as well how whilst Mikey's getting his eyebrows done, he says he draws the line here. He will not be caught dead getting a spray tan. But then the next scene we see him and he's getting sprayed down. And he's turning orange.
Spray tan, putting the brakes on, not happening.
Let's get married!
It's the next day. Danny and Kevin go apartment hunting. He tells Danny to remember to keep her game face on. Like he doesn't, want them to think that they're too eager to buy these places and therefore, sell them at a high price when they, lowball them a little bit. Kevin doesn't even follow this rule himself. He goes into these places and he's going like, wow, this is so cool, this is so amazing. What was this about poker faces? Because you're not doing very well. Lady Gaga would not be impressed. I do as well love to think and ponder about how expensive these places probably are, because all of them are bigger than my entire house. Out of the 3 apartments they show us, one of them has a 3,000 square foot living room. And I'm not American, so in the UK we don't measure things like that. But 3,000 sounds like a big-ass number. Am I wrong? Am I? That feels like it's a massive living room. And considering Kevin is impressed with it, I'm going to say it's pretty impressive. My favourite apartment that they see, though, is this one that is connected to the Gramercy Park Hotel, which means they have an a la carte menu that they can just order from their apartment all day long. They can get room service to their apartment. And not only that, they can also get a key to a private park right outside their apartment. They have their own private park connected with the apartment. That's some next level rich people things. That is the dream. I would just move there now. This apartment, however, does seem to sway Danny's mind.
I'm ready to jump into New York.
That's all I ever needed to hear.
Dive right in, I say. Dive in. Burgers at any time of day. In the middle of the night. Sign me up. I will sell my soul. Back at Danny and Kevin's residence, though, the in-laws finally make their move and they're moving into the house. They have boxes upon boxes of stuff. And love how Angela wants Danny to give her some space in the kitchen. Like, she wants Danny to carve out a whole cupboard space, a whole drawer, just to basically reorganize some of her stuff.
You've got a lot of rules for somebody that's squatting.
Although, apparently the 2 weeks could grow into 3 months, apparently, which makes sense considering this house is being built from scratch. During the family dinner, though, Michael has like this big announcement. Drum roll, please. Michael is thinking of moving back to LA to pursue his music career. I had no idea. Totally didn't put that in the promo of the episode. Like right as you start the episode, they totally did not spoil his big announcement. Ah! I don't blame Mike for his choice though. Kevin says Mike has been making music ever since he had known him, and like Mikey said, he has all of his connections out in LA, so the move to LA makes sense if you want to get into music. Dina then does point out though, after hearing this news and the news of Danny wanting to move away, that she always envisioned all of her siblings living like 15 to 20 minutes away from each other, and she's sad that that's no longer seeming to be the case. And girlie, I feel you. My brother lives in a whole other country, and sometimes it makes me a bit sad, like, I would love to be able to text him and be like, hey, let's hang out later, or like, let's do this spontaneously rather than having to plan it months in advance. And it's just not the case for me. And it does semi-suck. I never envisioned him living so far away, and it just is what it is now. And I'm used to it. It's been years and years of this now, so, nothing new. But yeah, I'd lie to say it doesn't suck a little bit. So I do sympathise with Dina on this part of the, issue here. But that does conclude the first episode back. Quite a short one. Episode 2, Pom Poms and Circumstances. We open up on Kevin and Danny in the romantic city of New York. Definitely does not smell of piss and cigarettes. Kevin has a great idea to take Danny to the top of the Empire State Building, and it turns into the Windy City. Because my girl is about to be taken away like a kite or a plastic bag drifting through the wind. But this is just like their little cold opening part of the episode, so it doesn't really hold any weight and doesn't really matter much to the general episode's arc. What I have noticed though, we're only on the second episode, 5 seconds in, but everything Kevin has done so far has made her cold, because in the previous episode, Kevin had Danny walking around in the cold New York parks and it was like below freezing or something they kept saying. She was out there getting frostbite. But as much as I joke about them, you know, having issues, they've been really good so far this season. They seem a lot healthier, to be in a lot of a healthier place, and it's refreshing because last season was rough. Now we are actually on to the meat of the episode, and by the meat of the episode I mean Bucky is in the kitchen cooking. And whilst doing that though, Angela is trying to reorganise Danny's house for the time while she's living there. Again, like I said, she wants to reorganise drawers and shelves. They try to make Danny seem unreasonable for this, like for being annoyed that her mum's doing that, but it's realistic. Like, why? You don't want someone coming into your house and reorganising everything, especially if they're not moving in, they're just there for 2 weeks. Back off. Kevin, being the absent husband he is going off. Yeah, he's gonna go ditch Danny to film his music video for the Pom Poms music video, and he's like, ahaha, my crazy wife has to deal with everything on her own, ahaha. Down in New Orleans, Louisiana though, is where the Joe Bros are filming the music video for Pom Poms.
We are so excited. We chose Louisiana because we wanted it to be authentic. We wanted it to be real and just magic. The scene is set to be like at this football field, and we have this massive party going on. It's just characters and craziness, and it's going to be really fun.
This is their comeback single, so there's a lot riding on it, and they're filming this on the set of an athletics track or a school backdrop thing. Why? I'm not sure. Oh, I guess it's Pom Poms. That makes sense. The Disney knees are out though. Their asses are shaking and they get to filming the music video. The trashy cheerleaders make their appearance, tank tops, shorts and all. And honestly, it's not trashy, maybe for 2012. You know, the standards were so mean back then. It was just like, oh, you're showing skin as a woman? Trash. Women really live in hell. This was considered trashy. Like, that's trashy? Anyway, Joe explains how Nick is living his best life, but Kevin is probably fearing his life because Danny isn't happy with the idea of the trashy cheerleaders. They then possibly forklift the Joe Bros onto these goalposts. There's no clips, no harnesses, no wires, nothing. I thought the Joe Bros would probably be insured. Clearly not. Where was the health and safety? They're just up there, core strength and all, blessings and prayers. I would be gone the second the wind picked up above 5 miles per hour. If they sneezed, they could have rolled off and just broke their back. And that'd be the end of the Joe Bros. The Jonas brothers. What is funny though is the three of them were up on those goalposts kicking their little feet like schoolgirls as they watched the cheerleaders dance, and they have these cheesy awkward smiles on their faces as they watch them, and I too get it, because I too would feel the same and a little bit awkward watching a group of the opposite sex dancing in front of me whilst I'm forklifted into the air on a goalpost, especially when you are also fearing your life. In their trailer though, Joe, Nick and Kevin have a little chat. They don't have an event coordinator for their tour, and I feel like that's something you would have. No? But I guess if it means an event coordinator for their personal life, which I think is what they were aiming for here, that makes more sense not to have one. I think that'd be more down to you to plan your free time, because I guess that's not commonplace to have someone planning parties for you. But who knows, I'm not rich and famous, so I don't know. Then they start talking about how in South America, because their plan is to go on tour there, that they would be fully legal to go salsa dancing. I think they meant more than that. I think they mean strip clubs.
We're talking like going out.
Okay.
Like going
To a
out.
club.
I need to see the scenery.
This episode then kind of just turns into them talking about Nick's love life.
That's all.
So if we're gonna add Latin flavor into our music, are you going to add some Latin romance
Flavor into your romance.
That's where we're at. Kevin's like, haha, I can be the trusty wingman as I've got a ring and a woman, and I can be like, hey, set my brothers up. Me, I'm taken. Could it be me? You can trust me, women. And he's not wrong. But if I saw a man with a ring on that club, I'd have one of two thoughts. One of them would be, oh, he is trustworthy. He's not here to hit on me. He's just got a ring on. You know, like he's got a wife. Or I'd be thinking, this is kind of shady. A married man at this club. What's he doing here? It's also quite funny how Kevin is third wheeling this conversation between Nick and Joe, because him being a married man, he can no longer relate to like the single life that his two younger brothers are leading. He's all like, oh my god, I'm a married man, besties, I'm a married man, and I love it. Yes, you should shout that from the rooftops. Knock, 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 though. The Jonas Brothers' bestie, buddy, I'm joking, he's not their bestie, but he's Jonas Brothers' friend. He arrives with, I'll let you guess, you probably won't be able to guess. What does this man arrive with to the set of Pom Pom's music video? Throw your guesses out there, I dare you. If you didn't say 150 pounds of crawfish, then you are wrong. That is definitely what they needed 100% on set of Pom Poms in the music video. I love how they don't have catering, all they have is the 150 pounds of crawfish. The poor dancers, extras and crew, because even like they offered to some of them, hey, do you want it? And some of them are like, no, I don't eat crawfish, or like, I don't like it. Where is their food? I really hope they did have separate catering, except for the 150 pounds of crawfish that was just smushed onto a table. Because, ooh, it's not a good look. As they are eating the crawfish though, this really grinds my gears. Nick says about the crawfish, it's burning my lips. Now, it sounds to me like he missed the perfect opportunity to say, it's burning up. But okay, be a hater. Once a hater, always a hater, I guess. Back at the Kevin and Danny residence though, Dina is in the residence to have a chit chat with Danny. She basically comes over to tell Danny her concerns about the family all moving apart, and about how whenever the family hangs out now, by the end of it, she feels sad because she doesn't know when she's going to see them all again.
I don't want to just see you on someone's birthday. I don't want to just see you on Christmas. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for Michael.
And that's very valid of a feeling, girly. It's a very pure, wholesome moment that the girls have, because you see how much this is affecting Dina and how much she loves her sister and how much she loves being around her family. It doesn't help as well that this season Dina's husband is working in an entirely different state, meaning he's never really here. So they're just leading separate lives. And then Dina also does mention how this isn't the vision she had for their lives, and she's facing the fear of change. She doesn't want everything to be changing, and it isn't. It's all out of her control. She wanted to raise her children alongside Danny's kids. Back on the music video set though, Kevin is experiencing some bowel issues. He's talking about sweating, he's talking about the clench, and I'm talking about the clench. If you know, you know. I know exactly what a man is on about. I've been there far too many times. I have bowel issues, if you didn't know. I post about it on my Instagram. Sadly, if you follow me there, you would know about my bowel struggles. She's very open over there. This is a shared experience, and I know this experience all too well. My man as well was clenching his butt cheeks whilst they were having a photo shoot for the music video, and I know that his pants were just stained with butt sweat from all the clenching he had to do to stop his bowels from exploding on him. As soon as he can go though, he does bolt for his trailer and he evacuates his bowels. Maybe eating 150 pounds of crawfish wasn't the best idea, Kevin, was it? I just know as well the trailer smelled bad. It smelled like someone was trying to subtly poison you, is what I'm guessing it was. You can see in his face he doesn't look good. He's even paler than usual and he just looks a bit traumatized. I mean, he's even up on his bed, curled up into the fetal position. If that doesn't tell you his moments on the toilet were bad, that should. No questions asked. Local Jonas brother Joe comes to the rescue though. He's checking in on Kevin like, are you all good? And Kevin's like, no, I almost died.
Damn. While they're taking those photos, I thought I was going to just poop my pants.
At this point though, Kevin's absence from the music video has dragged on a bit, to the point that the crew grow worried about him and wonder if he needs a medic to come out onto the set. He doesn't need a medic though, he just needs Imodium. Just get my man Imodium. Imagine that was a sponsorship for Imodium, that'd been great. But the day must go on, even if the oldest Jonas brother is out of order, like the toilet will be soon. Randomly, we cut to them having a crocodile and a turtle on the set of the Pom Poms music video. In what world do the Jonas brothers need a crocodile? I'm baffled, or like any animals on set. I don't know why. Absolutely baffled me to my core. Back to things that did make sense though on the set. Cheerleaders. They are about to come out on set and Kevin is still on the toilet. At this rate, he has run out of his 4-ply toilet roll, so sound the alarms. Maybe he does need a medic. Even though I could happily talk about bowel issues all day, let's move on to Dani. She's on set of a photo shoot and she is finally more comfortable in her own skin. If you have seen my part 1 recap of season 1, you would know how insecure Dani was in her own skin and how self-conscious she was and how she even needed to attend movement class to be able to go to a photo shoot with Kevin. And you're telling me now that she's doing this on her own? We're so proud. We love a win, girly. The two sisters even have a moment where they start crying because they are both so proud of how far Dani has come. Dani is crying as well because she finally sees herself as pretty, and Dina is like, finally, you finally see how beautiful you are.
Are you can't believe how you look? Like, I feel like it's just all those years of like pent up not liking yourself in a way, and now you're finally just like, yeah, see how pretty you are.
And it's lovely. It's such a wholesome moment between the sisters, and it's honestly so adorable. Safe to say our girlie slays that photo shoot. Who cares about the Jonas brothers when you have the Jonas wives? I stand with Sophie. Back on the Pom Poms set, Kevin's bowels have not let him rest. He is still struggling. It's been a strong and long fight for him on the toilet. Stronger than my will to live, I'll tell you that. I mean, he is so bad, he doesn't even know if he can continue this shoot. He's informing his friend that he's literally evacuating his bowels every 2 seconds at this point, to which his friend, though, says, suck it up. Tell me you've never had bowel problems before in your life. You can't just suck up your bowel problems. They don't just stop because you want them to stop. Like, oh, thank you for curing me, I'll just stop having bowel problems. If the answer was that simple, no one would black out on the toilet.
The problem is if I suck it up, it's gonna be in my pants.
It's alright.
And I understand they are working on a budget and people are waiting for him, but is it really worth Kevin spreading a new disease at this rate? I don't think so. You can't inspirational quote your way out of bowel problems. But Kevin does it, he sucks it up, and he joins the others on set.
Once we got the drama queen put together, we're back to the video shoot and we can start focusing.
Being the pro he is, he shakes it off with all the cheerleaders that are near him, and they film all the way into the night. I don't know how Kevin's bowels survived hours upon hours of shooting on this music video set. I feel like he must have really gone through it and back to the toilet throughout the shoot. And I think they just didn't cover that anymore. I think they stopped filming him running back and forth from the toilet because I don't know how he wouldn't have. The music video though is finally wrapped and Kevin gets to sit on the toilet all in his mega mansion. And that brings the second episode to a close. Episode 3, The New Dani. We love to see it! We start the episode and Kevin does what Kevin does best. He says something stupid.
Don't do what the models do. You have to eat before a show.
Dani, Katie and Dina have all been invited to a fashion show along with Kevin when disaster strikes. Coffee has been spilt on the dress. Dani can overhear them kind of like murmuring all together in another room, and she's wondering what they are doing. Like, what the hell is going on in that room with all of them speaking in these hushed tones? When Dina enters with the ruined dress and she tries to pass the blame onto the dog. And when Kevin isn't having it, he's raising his toothbrush, pointing at Dina, and he's just snitching. He's a total snitch on Dina. Ironically, the cat's out the bag and Dani learns it was in fact Dina who ruined the dress, and I think they just have to put something else together for the girlies to wear, but it all works out eventually. Safe to say they all look stunning when they arrive at the show. But here's where the introverted part of me jumps out just a tad. I was watching this and a bunch of people, let's say 2 or 3, but that's enough for me, a bunch of people come up to talk to Dani and Kevin, and my social battery would just deplete. I would be gone. It would have died along with my will to live. And talking about events, stress, anxiety, Mikey's probably feeling all of that because he is set to perform at his first sold out show at the Bowery, and the Jonases will be in attendance. By the Jonases, I mean Kevin and Dani. You know, we're not getting the whole big deal here. Kevin is proud of him though, as he says he sees like a lot of growth, and he says Mikey's really commanding an audience and has a lot of potential. We're not at the show yet though, because first up we have lunch. Dani and Kevin meet up with the one, the only, Denise. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're talking about the Jonas Brothers' mother. She's in the building. Does she give me Mother Gothel energy sometimes? Yes. Am I a little bit scared of her? Yes. But they are sat here at their lunch, coming up with names for the next tour, and Kevin is saying they're thinking of calling the next tour Jonas Brothers, like the first time. Okay, I get it. Not the biggest fan of it, but it makes sense. And I guess it's, cutesy for what it is and what it stands for, and it does truly make sense. But, they definitely won't break up again and have a really long hiatus. At lunch, they discuss how Kevin will be starting tour in a week and going down to South America.
And Danny's going to go with you to South America.
I know. It's really, thank God.
Definitely doesn't feel like peer pressure at all, the way she says it. As we have seen in the previous season, the Jonases really kind of believe in the fact that the wife should be following the husband around and just kind of really supporting him on his path, even if it means putting what you want in the back seat. However, there's good news for Danny though, because she receives a phone call from Cosmopolitan magazine and they want her to do a column. Both Denise and Kevin are very happy for Danny, and it's sweet to see. However, Danny makes a very valid point that she is concerned that the only reason she is receiving these job offers is because she is married to the one and only Kevin Jonas, and because of his status and her connection, that's the only reason she's got this job, not because of her own talent. And let's not lie, no matter what anyone says, the reason she did get this opportunity was 99% because of Kevin, and there's really not any way around that. It's just, don't close your eyes to this, don't be blind, and that's the truth. But, Denise Uno reverses Danny, and
if you have an opportunity because of Kevin, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, that's what marriage is about.
You know what? I rarely say it, but Denise is right. She's out here speaking facts. If you have the opportunity, take it. I would. You'd be insane not to. Who cares if it's because of the connection you have? If you've got it, you've got it. Just take it. Just use it. Life's too short. Denise goes on to say that Danny needs to think about the goals she wants in life and strive for them and just go for them no matter what anyone's thinking. And we love the support. We then see a bit of an odd pairing, which I would never have thought of. We have Joe and Mikey, and they're going jacket shopping. Mikey does say that Jonas feels like a very laid-back guy, and he feels like one of his besties back home. So I love to hear that. We love to see a potential down-to-earth mansy. But I don't know how much of that I believe in recent events, because maybe he's not so very laid-back at this point in time. Maybe not, allegedly. Just an opinion. I am concerned that as this is Joe taking Mikey out shopping, that he is possibly taking him to these fancy clothing stores that Mikey may not be able to actually afford. I'm not calling Mikey broke, but I know he's not on that Jonas brother payroll money now, is he? Luckily, I did spot in the back of the episode that there's a 50% off sign in this shop, so maybe there's hope. But I still think the clothes probably cost a lot. Mikey comes out wearing a pair of black skinny jeans, but they are skinny. So skinny to the point that you can see all of his crevices and the man can barely sit down. It looks so uncomfortable. It looks like Ross in that one episode of Friends. I mean, the jeans are literally so tight to the point that Joe has to get in on the action and help Mikey take off the pants. Carrying on with the adventures of Joe and Mikey, the bromance continues. It is thriving, it is flourishing. When, all of a sudden, Joe drops the bombshell as to whether Mikey would like to come to South America on tour with the Jonas Brothers as their opening act.
We wanted to see if Mike Talisa would come on tour with us in South America.
Mike then goes on to wonder if he's being punked, and Joe confirms he is not messing with him. This is very serious, and this is a genuine invitation. Joe lets him know that he only has 15 days to prepare for this tour, so he needs to start getting ready immediately. Danny, Kevin and Denise continue on with their little hanging out. They all head off to do some shopping together, some hat shopping. Danny says Denise has a really good sense of style. I don't mean to laugh. I really don't. I don't mean to be mean, but I would put a question mark by that statement, because Denise literally looks and dresses like every other woman in their 40s to 50s. If you would go out to Marks and Spencer's, a supermarket in the UK, you will see 20 other women dressed the same. Denise goes on to ask the shop assistant to find Danny a hat that will make Danny feel confident and powerful and strong. And they come out with this.
You love red.
Let me see.
The red.
It's pretty hot.
Is this some sick joke? That hat looks like a bird died on top of it, that it got crushed by a car, that it's roadkill. But I mean, Denise really starts to have her character growth, her villain redemption arc on me in this season, because she really is growing on me. She continues to spit more facts for Danny, because Danny's concerned that with the hat, like the one she's wearing with the dead animal on top of it, that it will make people stare at her. And Danny's worried about everyone staring at her and feeling as if everyone is looking at her. But Denise goes on to say, no, we don't have to feel that way. It's actually a beautiful thing to have attention on you. And Denise, you are right, my girlie. Denise really comes out here with the facts and the confidence boosters. She's all supportive and she's all, you know, saying it's okay to take up room in a room. It's okay to be the loudest person there. It's okay to be acknowledged.
You've got to remember that it's okay that we always think, oh, everybody's looking at me, but that's a beautiful thing.
Denise then goes on to ask Danny how does she want to be perceived, and Danny says she wants everyone to see her as sweet. She doesn't want people thinking that because of where she's at in life and the life she leads, rich mega mention, famous husband, that she isn't sweet. And I don't think anyone doesn't think she's sweet for those specific reasons. They maybe might think that she's living a very privileged life. Because yes, you are. There's no denying that. You don't have to be ashamed of it. You know, you got there. Good for you. But I don't think anyone's saying you're not sweet. I just think they're saying you're not as relatable as you maybe once were. Back at the Jonas residence, we see a little more of Kevin's home, where he has a pool table and a jukebox in this one room. I smell that Jonas brother money. But he's having a little conversation with Mikey, and it's kind of a disguised business conversation. I'm getting trauma flashbacks to season 1, because remember how Kevin Sr. would turn family discussions into business meetings. The plot thickens. I see how who he was raised by really does affect him here, because he's turning into Kevin Sr. right before our eyes.
When you come out first, you're now a reflection on us.
He also adds that they choose the opening act very, very, very wisely because of this. It's time to attend the Cosmo meeting for Danny. Remember, this episode is The New Danny, and Dina goes to support her sister. There's some casual model skinny shaming again when Danny asks Dina if she wants a mint, and Dina says, yeah, and then we can say we are on the same diet as the models. Two ladies called Jessica and Helen at Cosmo hold the meeting with Danny and Dina and get into the details about the column and how they want it to be about cooking, even if it's just, you know, talking about a date night or a party. What kind of interested me though is Dina in the present day is the one who actually posts all about cooking now. Like, if you wanted to know what she's up to now, she's posting all about cooking. She seems to be doing quite well. And I wonder if this kind of started the, you know, planting the ideas in her head, like, hey, maybe this is something I want to do, or if she always knew she wanted to pursue a career in cookery and cooking. Anyways, at the meeting, Jessica tells Danny that she will be in the lifestyle section of the magazine, and that they will want her to write up the stuff she has learned, the tips that she has, and the recipe for the meal that she will be pushing into the magazine. They also told Danny that for the next steps, you know, going on from this agreement together, this partnership, that Danny's going to need to think of some more recipes, menu ideas to bring to the table for the chefs at Cosmo, as they need to, you know, have a variety to choose from. They also inform her that there's going to be a photo shoot in her kitchen at home for the magazine article, and therefore she's going to need to think about, like, set dressing the kitchen and the decor and what she wants to wear. Now we get to the most draining part of the episode. A conversation with Kevin and Danny. Danny comes in all excited to tell Kevin about her day at Cosmo and how the opportunity is going great and all the details about it, when Kevin asks Danny if she can make sure that she does the shoot before he leaves for tour, so that Danny can come on tour with him. And he only wants her to move the shoot and everything and have it organised in such a way and scheduled in such a way so that he can benefit.
I don't want to hinder you from doing what you want to do.
But you are, because you want me to go on tour, and going on tour.
So much to ask. Like, I wanted you to be with me. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Too, but
Danny finally puts her foot down and is like, no. Because, yeah, girlie, have your moment. And then she then goes on to further explain, although she shouldn't have to explain herself, but she explains that there's a lot that's going into the magazine and all these schedules, and it's not something that she can exactly change, or that's something that she wants to jeopardize or try and change. I won't lie as well, this next part I audibly gasped when watching. Danny informs Kevin she probably won't be able to leave on tour with him as the magazine stuff falls in the middle of his tour, and obviously this is something that is very important to her. She finally has her own thing to herself, which we discussed in part 1 about how she always wanted to have a job or something to call her own, when Kevin sighs and Danny reminds him he's always got stuff going for him, and now she finally has her own thing, and Kevin makes my blood boil as he says, "I know, but that's different." What do you mean? It's the same thing. You just think your wife needs to follow you everywhere. She's allowed to have her own wants, her own needs, and even if they affect yours, she's still allowed to have her own things in life. Oof. And it feels like we've been talking in circles for like 10 episodes so far, because this has always been an issue for Kevin, is Danny having her own thing. Danny reiterates the same point she made in season 1. She wants to be there to support Kevin. She really does. She always mentions this. But she doesn't want to let go of this opportunity that she's been handed. She says how she doesn't want to just sit around and keep feeling like she's doing nothing when Kevin completely misses the point. And he says, Danny goes on to express how she doesn't always feel satisfied just following Kevin around and feeling as if she's doing nothing by sitting around and literally doing nothing whilst he's on tour. And Kevin completely misses the point. He says,
if I could do something like this and not sit around and feel like I don't do anything.
You do things. You support me. You're there with me.
But that's not the point, Kevin. Read between the lines. Your wife wants to have her own identity, and right now, her whole identity is you. She does not have her own separate one. Which is funny because he literally pointed that out with his answer that he gave her about, oh, you support me, you're there for me. That's the problem. She's there too much. Kevin also goes on to say he does not want to hinder Danny, but she points out he is. His very answer really was just him hindering her by pressuring her to come on tour with him, and he also just made her feel bad about the whole experience, which really sucks. I hate as well how he really twists the knife deeper by twisting the narrative and trying to guilt her into coming on tour by saying going on tour with him is a new opportunity, like the one that she's been looking for, which he's trying to say is the same as the Cosmo opportunity, but we know they're not one and the same. They're really not. And talking about twisting the knife, he twists it even further. He has one last hurrah. It just gets worse and worse. Kevin thinks that raising his voice and talking over Danny makes him right. Personally, girly, I would truly not handle this much disrespect in a relationship. From what I've seen, these past 10 episodes. But I would have run for the hills by now. But I also guess there's a power dynamic at play here. He's this rich, successful, wealthy man who's got a lot of fame and status. And as she's not working, where does she go? I'm not saying they got to that point. I'm really not. I'm just saying, theoretically here. He then goes on to ask her, do you want to have a baby this year? In a tone that insinuates if she doesn't come on tour with him, it's out of the cards. It's not happening. There's no other way around it.
Do you want to have a baby this year? Do you?
I don't know.
Now you don't know?
When those two things should not affect each other. Like, Kevin, you're off the rails here. Like, oh my days. Just let your wife have her own life. It's not that hard. Danny, rightfully so, is in utter shock at this whole conversation and says Kevin gets to do everything he wants, and the one time she's an opportunity for herself, what? She can't do it?
Kevin, you do everything that you need to do, and then the one time that I get an opportunity...
That's my job. I have to do that. I can't change.
And now,
there are things that I can't change, and you know that.
But isn't what Danny's doing a job for her? This is part of her life. She goes on to say this is something she wants to do, and if she can meet him, she will. But she's not sure at this point in time whether that will be possible. I would ditch the whole man, honestly. If your wife having her own life is this big of a struggle or this big of a deal, maybe you need some therapy. Maybe you need some further discussions. Maybe you need to reflect on why that is it bothers you so much. It should be the norm for both partners to have separate lives and have their own things going on for themselves. And Kevin, my guy, you need to stop making your wife's struggles even harder. The least he could do is show how he is grateful that Danny, up to this point, has really put aside her wants and needs and just followed everything that Kevin wants. But that brings episode 3 to an end, and then we are next on to episode 4, Fandemonium. Kevin makes sure to check one last time that Danny does not want to come with him on this tour or this particular leg of the tour, which she lets him know she wishes she could, but she has other commitments to be at, like the Cosmo magazine thing, all the meetings. She has more stuff to do at home. We do have some self-reflection though, as Kevin says, I know I was wrong, I was selfish, hopefully I can make it up to her. So at least there's that. We have some self-reflection, he understands that what he did wasn't cool. Still doesn't mean, however, the words he said wouldn't sting. I would be so annoyed if I had a husband and he even dared though to talk to me like that or insinuate that what I do isn't important. Kevin does continue to say that he is aware what Danny wants to do is important and he wants to be able to support her and be a rock for her. So I'm glad he isn't stupid and realises his wife can also have her own life as well. You'd think that's just a basic concept, but clearly not, because my god, the previous discussion they had made me want to throw my head into a blender. As Kevin leaves for tour, the two have a cute little moment together.
You dropped something.
I don't care. We'll be alright.
I know.
You can definitely see there is a lot of love between the two. It's just sometimes Kevin makes me so frustrated. But yeah, so Danny waves Kevin off and then there he goes off to the airport to join his Jonas bros as they embark on their tour. The show starts and the crowds are big, like it's kind of insane. I know I said it in the previous video as well, but I am still tempted to go and see the Jonas Brothers at the O2 when they arrive back to London because, you know, it'd be an experience and I am curious to see what they're like live. So who knows, maybe I will, maybe I won't, I'm not entirely sure. The tour though, in this 2012 era, was 18 shows long and they were having a great time.
We're all wasted. Just kidding, no we're not.
We then time jump 2 weeks to when the Joe Bros are playing in Chile, where they will be performing at a place called Vina del Mar. Kevin runs through the schedule for the day. They have sound check at 8 AM, press throughout the whole day, and then they have to wait until 1 AM for their actual show. There really is no rest for them, no rest for the wicked. Kevin, however, is very excited though because Danny is set to arrive the next day, the following day, and he misses her very much, which he makes very known in this episode. I'm just so glad though Danny got to stay back and do her own thing, I really am. After soundcheck, it's press time, and during press, one of the interviewers stirs the pot a little bit, especially now since we know what happened, like why they broke up. But anyway, the interviewer asks,
I think it's all equal, you know? We each contribute something different to the group, and it's just about finding that dynamic and sticking with it.
it's kind of giving Victoria justice. And I just want to say, no hate better come to my gal, Victoria Justice's way. No Victoria slander here. It pained me to even make that comparison because I don't think she was being salty when she was like, we all sing. I think she was just being inclusive. But anyway. But yeah, that definitely is interesting that Nick said that because, and that the interviewer asked it considering they soon broke up not long after this, like, tour. So I feel like these issues were probably bubbling under the surface anyway. Things are a little hectic in Chile though. The love is strong from the fans, and I mean very strong. And I mean South America do have is it a stereotype? Maybe for being like great to the artists that come to their country because they love them so much. And I mean like the Jonas Brothers have hundreds to thousands of fans waiting around outside to watch them, like just to see them go from their hotel or just because they're somewhere. Like on top of a building or in a hotel or they're walking, there's fans everywhere. And now Kevin being Kevin, he wants to say hi to the fans, but he also notes it's not safe for the Jonas Brothers to do that. So the next best thing is for them to go up to like this balcony or just up somewhere high where they can wave to the fans, and that is exactly what they do. Kevin said that to him this is all worth it because he loves to see the fans and know what they're doing is making an impact on them. Back to more girl bossing though. Danny and Dina head back to the Cosmo offices. They go over the photo shoot and some of Danny's ideas, and it's nice to see Danny happy and doing her own thing. I know I've said that so many times, but it just still rings so true. The good thing though, she has a few questions for Jessica and Helen, the two editors at Cosmo that they're meeting with. She asks how many people will be at the shoot, and Helen lets her know there will be a lot. There's the photographer, the two assistants for the photographer, a tech, a couple of people from the edit side of the magazine, and maybe a few other people in between. Danny then proceeds to wonder about her family and their style, aka the clothes they will be wearing, to which Jessica lets her know that it is no hassle because the stylist on Cosmo's team will take care of all of their dresses and attire and outfits. Dina, being the absolute icon she is, mentions how proud she is of her sister and how proud she is that Danny is really taking charge in these meetings and she's seeing a whole new side to Danny. I think it's really sweet as well seeing how supportive Dina is of Danny in this season specifically. Not saying she wasn't in the previous season, we just didn't see the side of her very much. Jessica and Helen then go on to say that they would like Danny to write about what happened at the dinner for like the meal she's supposed to cook for the article, and a little story followed by a couple of tips for the reader. So Danny has to do the photo shoot, write a little bit about what happened at the dinner, write some tips and the recipe. They then also let her know that she only has a couple of days after the photo shoot to put together this article that she needs to submit to their editors or their team, and she has to be on it because basically if Danny doesn't submit her article in time, the whole thing goes down the drain. So that means a bunch of people's work and time and effort is down the drain. What is a very good takeaway from this meeting though is the editors let Danny know that if this does go well, then there is potential for them to work together in the future, which would be lovely for Danny as she is, you know, looking for more in her life and to have a job. Back to the Joe Bros and Mikey DeLisa. They all head out to lunch in Chile where they discuss how wild the fans are there. I mean, one literally set up a ladder outside of the restaurant so that they could look in. You know, no privacy there, but they feel the love. They also discuss in the restaurant how wife hunting has gone very poorly as the boys cannot go out. There's too many fans. They can't step out of their hotels. It's a safety issue. Things get a bit shady though at dinner when they mention Danny. I know they're just poking fun, but Nick says he won't believe Danny will fly out or be there unless he sees it with his own eyes. And what does he mean? Because Danny's always been around to support Kevin, so I was baffled when he said he'd believe it when he sees it. Like, sir? Are you okay? Have you not noticed Danny is everywhere with Kevin? Clearly not. Kevin also talks about how Mike is uncomfortable when Danny goes to the clubs with them because he's uncomfortable with his sisters watching him like hit on other women because he can like feel their judgment. To which Kevin is like, no, not Danny, she isn't judgy. Danny's not a judgy gal. And then Joe says, yes, Danny. I'm not here for Danny slander. To me, Danny seems like someone you could really confide in. She does not seem judgy. But who knows? I don't know her personally, do I now? Funnily though, all the while they've been eating inside, a whole military operation has been taking place outside of the restaurant as a bunch of fans outside are waiting for the Jonases to come out. But again, a security issue, so they've had like police arrive and maybe even some of the army have arrived to make sure nothing goes down. Back in the hotel whilst waiting to go on stage for their 1 a.m. show, Nick decides he wants to repack his suitcase. Nick then proceeds to shame Kevin for calling his hangers cool.
I love a cool hanger. That was definitely like a married guy thing to say.
Oh man, these are nice hangers.
These hangers, man.
I'll comment on.
Just don't comment on hangers anymore. That's
Comment on the thing.
not a good look for you.
Okay, I won't do that anymore.
He's like, that's such a married guy thing to say. Don't say that anymore, it's not a good look. How dare Kevin have fun? That's so mean of him. Anyway though, this doesn't stop Kevin. He continues to point out how Nick is a cool suitcase, which I think probably Nick thought was really lame of him to say. And he also mentions that Nick packed really lightly.
And you really packed light.
Yeah, well, I'm not a diva. Kidding.
Kevin defends his married guy talk, rightfully so, just because his brother is lonely and single. He says he is proud to be a married guy, unlike his loser single brothers. That's what I'm saying. Nick and Kevin have a little chat up on the balcony of the hotel room about Kevin and Danny's relationship. However, it makes me roll my eyes, and you can see how all the boys have been raised with the same beliefs about women supporting their husbands' careers beyond even their own. Nick says that he is happy that Danny is coming out to support Kevin, and it's nice to see her support him as that is important. Nick then continues to say, Kevin gives a lot and it's important Danny supports him. When you read between the lines, it seems as if Nick is insinuating that Danny has to follow Kevin around because he gives so much support and he's like the breadwinner or whatever. But my god, just let women have their own life. And this discussion confused me because the previous season made it abundantly clear all Danny does is support Kevin. So for Nick to sit there and talk about it as if Danny almost never supports him and isn't a very supportive wife confuses me. I'm going to insert a funny moment though, because I feel as if we need a little bit of levity after this little rant.
Coladas? 2.
Dos.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
You were so white, it wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
Can I please have some pina coladas,
Like
please?
Sprite?
In New Jersey at the Jonas residence, Danny is on the phone with Kevin, where they have a general chat mainly about Danny coming out to see Kevin and how she hasn't fully packed yet, and then Kevin, knowing Danny, knows that this is an issue because a girlie needs time to pack. Danny also mentions how this time around it's been a couple years since he was out on tour because they had a break before this, and therefore it's a bit odd not seeing him every day, and it's something she's going to have to get used to. The phone call ends though, and it's time for the Jonas Brothers to head off to their concert in Chile. Getting the proper rock star treatment though, they get a full police escort to the venue, and at this venue they will be playing 23 songs. I do not have the specific set list, I'm just hoping a Joe Bro classic is on there. Once the boys are put into the green room, Mikey mentions how he feared his life in the car, and the whole experience was a lot different to the US, and this is because when they drove on their way to the venue, fans were like chasing the car, running up to the car, the press were even running around the car and trying to get into the car. So yeah, it was kind of like a culture shock to him a little bit. The boys have a nice spread in the green room. I'm a bit jealous. I mean, if I was there though, I would request M&Ms. That would be a must on my rider if that's what they call it. Also, this is not really about the show. It's more about the production company of this show, because I really kind of wanted to mention it. It kept bothering me every time I saw it. It's just, it makes me feel really weird. I really don't like the weird logo they keep showing at like the 15-minute mark of these episodes, because at the 15-minute mark-ish, they cut and it's like Ryan Seacrest Productions, and then they show like a little card for this other production company, and it's kind of creepy. It gives me the ick. I'll put an image up of it just so you know what I'm talking about. And they didn't have it there last season. This is a new thing for this season for them to show this image. And the first time I saw it, I did a double take because it's just an odd image for you to use as your face of your company. The Jonas Brothers finally get on stage after saying a little prayer, and Kevin mentioned how they give 110% every concert. But when I watched the clips that they showed, Nick looks like a certified robot man. He looks certified constipated. Maybe Kevin is just speaking for himself. Once the show is over though, the team head over to a restaurant to eat dinner, and at the dinner their hairstylist called Marissa asks, "Where is Joe?" To which Nick replies, "He quit the band." Again, a funny little comment he made considering we know what happens in like a year to come. Interesting. Whilst everyone's having their dinner though, Kevin is actually on the phone. He's just like taken a little step aside from the table and he's on the phone to Danny, and disaster has struck because her flight to see him has been cancelled due to freezing weather in Toronto. They try to figure out a new plan for her to get to him that night, or I think the next day, but nothing can be done and he's just gonna have to wait. Kevin is not happy though because he feels like there's always an obstacle in their way of being together when he's on tour, and he does mention he's not mad at Danny, it wasn't in her control, it's the fault is on the weather. And that is when we then step into episode 5, Los Jonas Hermanos. I feel like I just butchered that. Los Jonas Hermanos. This season though is so much shorter than season 1 because season 1 is 8 episodes and this season is only 6 episodes. It feels a lot shorter than season 1, however I did write a bit more on some of the episodes, so that was interesting. But anyway, we're on to episode 5, which means we've only got 2 left. Life on the road is known to be grueling, and it is wearing on the boys at this point in time. All of them are caught snoring in the car, not a single one is caught not catching flies. And to be fair, they didn't fall asleep until 5 a.m, and right now they've had to be up from 8 a.m. So let's do the maths. 3 hours they've had. Not the best. They arrive to the hotel and the guys, being single and lonely and losers, decide they want to ruin ladies' night at the bar downstairs in the hotel because they want to attend the ladies' night in hopes of meeting someone. Do they not realise it's ladies' night? As in no men, please? Be gone! It is a rare occurrence though that this happens because Kevin, he's gonna hang out with the boys, and he rarely does that. Now that he's a married man, yeah, no, you're not gonna catch him outside anywhere. Kevin kind of says that he can be their wingman. I know we had this discussion earlier about him being a wingman, I think, and Joe isn't so sure that Kevin would be a great wingman, so he puts him to the test. Kevin argues that he would be a great wingman for Mikey, as he can introduce him as his brother-in-law and also show off his ring in the same moment, so that the women around will know again that Kevin is a trustworthy man. Regardless though, they have a little goofy moment where Joe pretends he's a woman.
It is so chilly in this room. I'm just all alone at the bar, no friends, I came alone.
So that they can see if Kevin would actually be a good wingman in their scenario. Also, Also wanted to note, Nick doesn't laugh once during this whole thing, and I'm starting to think that maybe Ross Lynch or it was Rocky Lynch are right, that maybe Nick's not that much of a good time, because they were like, we've never seen the man smile. They're onto something. My favourite part of the episode, though, there's a funny turn of events. They head downstairs to the bar, and what would you guess? There's no woman there, just men. We love to see it. They tried to ruin ladies' night and they were like, no, we're not having it. I love that my girlies are having a good time elsewhere. Kevin says, though, he's having a nice time with the boys, which I love, because you can enjoy your time. You don't need, to be occupied by someone else. Although I also understand that they do see each other 24/7 touring with one another, so it might be nice to see a fresh face. Nick and Joe don't seem to be in the best spirits about not having any ladies to mingle with, but that's life. You try to ruin ladies' night, this is karma. Because of it being only men at the bar, though, Kevin makes a comment that makes me want to scream into the void. He calls it a sausage fest. It's not something I needed to think of, okay? He's not wrong, but I didn't need it. Awaiting Danny's arrival, because remember her flight was delayed, it's finally the day for her to arrive now. Kevin gets busy in the hotel room. Kevin's like tap 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 on his laptop. He's probably doing nothing. And he's, he's like a very excited schoolboy waiting to see his girlfriend. But this is his wife. Finally there's a knock 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 on the door and it's Danny! Wow! The two of them reunite, they embrace, they have a little hug and a kiss. They look very happy to be back together. Kevin gives Danny a whole recap on boys' night and how it went completely wrong when they hear some screaming. And the screaming is loud, but turns out it's just there's a bunch of fans down below who can see Kevin and Danny because they're out on the balcony at the minute. So they're very excited that they can see Kevin. They are animated about it, I tell you that. They're that excited over Kevin? Imagine how excited they'd be over Nick and Joe. I'm so sorry, Kevin. Danny, like in season 1, mentions again how she will never get used to the fact that her husband is this famous and that there are people who are going to be that excited to see him, because that really would kind of be weird. And she's also explaining how she finds it weird that this is her life. Since it's Danny's first time seeing them perform in South America, Kevin wants to make sure it's the best concert yet. Which I'm going to say must be hard because Kevin keeps talking about giving 110%. He's got to give like 120% this time now. He also then wants to make sure it's a great time for Danny because it's also the first time she's going to see Mikey perform in a venue this large. Because it's an arena. Jonas Brothers finally arrive to the venue and they show Danny this huge ass jacuzzi on the way to their green room. It's a bit of an odd thing to have, but it's there. And as they're looking at the jacuzzi, Kevin mentions that the amount of, and I quote, specimen in there is probably disgusting. Kevin! But also he's not wrong. This is a place where a load of rock stars and people are gonna hang out and it's gonna get messy, isn't it? Talking about Mikey, safe to say he is very nervous to be opening up for the Jonas Brothers. He doesn't want them to think that they've made the wrong choice in hiring him to be their opening act. And I don't blame him, Andy. I too would feel the pressure, and I would also feel very nervous to go out and play before a big band like the Jonas Brothers who are very well established, as well as also playing for the first time in an arena. Especially as well because all he has played before is smaller venues. He's never played an arena. He's only played like clubs and bars. In the green room though, not the jacuzzi bit, but the actual green room, I think it's like a catering bit. Danny gets to talking to Kevin's tour assistant, Fee, like what Ticketmaster adds to your concert tickets. So anyway, Fee mentions that this is the first time she gets to hang out with Danny and Kevin as a married couple because before, Danny was always the girlfriend on tour. They quickly get to talking about how Danny is quite busy now with the Cosmo thing and how Danny and Kevin are having to navigate this new hurdle in their relationship with their schedules clashing and finding a way to still make time for each other. To which Fee does note Kevin's finally seeing how life has been for Danny the past couple years with her schedule always having to align with his, and now Kevin's realising that his schedule no longer aligns with Danny's, or Danny's doesn't align with his, and therefore he's now having to chase her around. And again, I think it's so great Danny has her own thing going. I'm so happy for her. And it's not uncommon for people in the industry who are together to have very busy relationships, and Danny mentions that herself. She says, she's used to seeing these relationships where the two are working so much that they don't have much time to see each other, but they still make it work, and she wants to make sure it works and doesn't jeopardize her relationship with Kevin. And considering they're still married today, I'm assuming it does all work out eventually. We skip forward to it just being Danny and Kevin now in maybe Kevin's dressing room or something, where Kevin says he thinks Danny seems off. Not in an accusatory tone, just in a making sure she's okay, just checking in kind of way.
It's definitely hard to come into a tour when you haven't been out the whole time. Everyone else is used to it and you're not, and it's a little challenging in the beginning.
Kevin then goes on to ask Dani if she will be staying for the entire tour, to which she says she's not sure, but she will try. However, she does need to get home for the Cosmo photo shoot at the house. Kevin then goes on to mention that he is sad Dani will be leaving him, but he's also aware it's good for her to have her own thing going. Selfishly though, he does mention how it's better for him when Dani is there and when they're together and not apart. And then we follow Joe. Joe is honestly so quirky in this season, and I really mean it. I don't mean it in a funny kind of way. He really genuinely is quite quirky. My man, if he isn't doing an impersonation of someone, he's out here playing a harmonica piano thing, and I'm happy for him. But anyways, Mikey mentions how great it is to be around Joe before he goes on stage, because Joe has a really laid back, calm and relaxing energy to be around, and he is hoping that that energy from Joe will rub off on him instead of him feeling like a nervous wreck. 2/3 of the Jonas brothers check on Mike though, because Kevin comes over to ask Mike how he's doing, but he doesn't exactly help Mikey's nerves, as he asks Mikey how he's doing, and of course Mikey tells him like, I'm nervous, to which Kevin responds, it's a packed house tonight. Now is not the time, Kevin. Mikey notes, like how I was saying earlier, that he is used to smaller clubs and this show is the biggest show he's played yet, so it's definitely a step up, more like a whole staircase up at this rate. He finally gets to go to soundcheck, and I wasn't believing in the whole him and Joe being besties thing that they were trying to push in this show until this episode. Because Joe is standing there the entire time Mikey is sound checking, and it's really sweet because he's just there, I think, to make sure that he's doing okay and to give him pointers, which is what a real friend would do. You can see he really is there for him. Sadly, sound check doesn't go to plan for Mikey. You can tell he's very nervous, his in-ears don't seem to be working right.
Mike definitely looks stressed. I think that he needs to get more comfortable up on that stage. Just roll with the punches and not freak out.
Mikey continues to get in his own head about all of this because he doesn't think that the in-ears or his guitar sound right, so he goes to talk to Dani about his issues. He tells her he isn't sure if he's ill or if it's just nerves. He's doing that badly at this point. Dani empathizes with him as she discusses how she too has had to get over some really big fears. Maybe the balloon arch was one of them. And she knows it's a lot to take that step to overcoming your fears. In their discussion as well, we come back to the whole point Mikey was making about feeling as if the Jonas brothers might think they've made a mistake in hiring him, thinking he's not ready for tour.
Listen, it's like I don't want to disappoint anyone. I want everyone to like be like, oh, okay, he put on like a really good show. Like if I forget a word or if I mess something up, like what if they like say like maybe you're not ready for this yet. Like maybe next year. That would be like the worst.
He then goes on to say if he's not pulling his weight or putting in 110%, then it's not good enough. My guy has definitely been talking to Kevin Jonas with the 110% thing. I see you. Very dramatically, Joe kicks the door to get into Mike's dressing room. Joe, being Mike's bestie though, can see that his friend is stressed to the max and offers that the two of them go off to hang out before the show and have a little chit chat about being on stage. Joe tells him he knows that Mikey is used to playing smaller venues and therefore playing in an arena is a massive jump, and instead of looking forward at the crowd, he's going to be looking up and over. I will say as well, Joe does give Mike some really good advice, like very good. It would be the kind of pointers that you'd really appreciate. He kind of just gives him like the handbook to crafting stage presence. He tells Mikey that the crowd will be looking for his attention and therefore he should lean into that and give it to them.
Like, I can see you from the back, or like, that sounds so cliche, but even pointing or opening your hand to a crowd, that is going to make them kind of draw to you even more.
He then proceeds to tell Mikey that when he himself wants to get close to the crowd, he will walk down the stairs and join them and be with them. Another thing he mentions to Mike is how Mike should make sure that he creates memories for this crowd, because that is what the fans are looking for. They want memories to take with them forever. I just want to say as well that I do appreciate that Joe is very aware of the fans' perspective of a concert. I feel like not many artists are, and he clearly very much gets what makes a good concert for a fan. And because the great advice keeps rolling, we've got another one to mention. Joe tells Mikey that he shouldn't be afraid to do too much, especially because the opener only gets 30 to 40 minutes to make an impression on the crowd anyway. So I really loved that scene between the two boys and Joe really seeming like he knows his craft. The meet and greet commences. Remember when artists used to do meet and greets all the time like it was such a norm? I miss them. And yes, I'm looking at you, the driver error, because you cancelled your meet and greets and now you've put up the prices for just general early entry tickets, even though they don't include a meet and greet anymore, and I paid less for my meet and greet. But anyway, back to the video. Kevin says that it's rewarding to hear stories from fans as to why they became fans of the Jonas Brothers or why they've come to the concert at these meet and greets. He says that the fans make him feel good even if he can't understand them. I'm surprised though with this meet and greet instance that security didn't jump in like, hey, girlie, that's enough. Like, hey, move. But maybe they could just tell it was harmless. Jonas Brothers meet and greet almost comes to a close, and Mikey, the clock is ticking. He knows he's about to go on stage soon and he is stressed. They have him in the bathroom. He's got paper towel in hand. He's dabbing on his forehead, wiping the sweat off his face. My man is humming and he is pacing. That is an anxious man if I've ever seen one. But his in-ears go in, countdown starts, and he has to get on that stage. So the lights come up, the music starts playing, the crowd is screaming, and a Joe Jonas cardboard cutout is watching over Mikey's shoulder on stage. Whilst the real Joe is watching Mikey from his dressing room with Kevin as well.
Playing, I'm always watching.
And both of them proudly watch on, with Joe noting how Mikey really took all of his tips to heart and is using them, and we see him use basically all of the tips that Joe gave him. Danny also watches Mikey, but she's doing so from the actual crowd at the concert, and she mentions how she is close to tears seeing her brother do so well. Everyone is proud of my man Mike. He put on a really good show and he did so well given the circumstances, and just in general he did very well. The show ends though and Mike comes back to Joe, Kevin and Danny ready to congratulate him on putting on such a great show and letting him know how well he did, when Mikey mentions to Joe that Joe got him in trouble. Basically, Joe didn't mention to Mikey that if Mikey wanted to go down the stairs, he would need to alert security and have security with him to do so. However, when Mikey did go down the stairs, he didn't have any security with him. To which Joe replies,
YOLO.
Having Mikey off the stage though, it means it's time for the Jonas Brothers to go on. Kevin and Danny share a little smooch before the show, and if it was even possible for the fans to get any louder, they do just that. They get louder. Kevin gets sentimental over the fact that fans still show up for them and that so many people do, and it's so amazing to see them still excited about their music even after them having taken a break. Little did they know they'd be taking another break. But it makes him feel all warm and fuzzy inside. All things set aside with what I say about Danny and Kevin's relationship, he does drop a really sweet line about falling in love over and over again.
That girl will make me fall in love with her over and over again.
That's probably the best place to leave this episode on a high. So we'll move on to the final episode of season 2, Lights, Camera, Cosmo. The episode starts with a thrilling opening. Kevin struggles to find a toilet to take his dump in his mega mansion as all of the toilets are occupied. Because if you have forgotten, the DeLises are taking up residence in his house. We haven't really seen them at all this season, so I wouldn't be surprised if you have forgotten. It's actually very tragic. Bucky's screen time got cut down so much. He had seconds this season, seconds. Needing to desperately pee though, Kevin goes to extreme measures as he joins the dogs outside for a piss. And Angela, poor Angela, she sees this through the window. You've scarred your mother-in-law for life. And I really can't believe he actually got that desperate. I feel like it must have been just for the cameras, like he didn't actually do that. Could you really not hold it for 5 more minutes? I'm sure another toilet would have opened up in your mega mansion within that time. Also, did he not just try his own ensuite? Maybe he did. Maybe Danny was in there. Searching for a house still, we continue on with the house tours with Kevin, Danny and Denise. She's our special guest. They pull up to the first house, and when they get there, they notice something odd. There's like a small crowd outside the house. Turns out the family who own the house caught wind of the fact that Kevin Jonas would be viewing their house. Feels like a bit of a violation as an estate agent, and I know it's not illegal, but it just feels like a violation because I know it's not illegal because obviously when you sell your house you want to know who you're selling it to. They really should have laid off. I think it was kind of messed up of them to show up to him viewing the house. And again, I feel bad for Kevin because I feel as if it's awkward for him and he's gonna have to put on that famous Kevin Jonas mask, not his genuine Kevin Jonas aura, because obviously he's going to have to be nice about everything and not show his true colours in order to not offend any of these fans. So that's a difficult position they put him in. Giving credit where it's due though, Kevin is really sweet about the whole situation and he offers to sign things and take photos with the kids that are there, which is very nice of him because he didn't have to. Very awkwardly, the family do follow them around the house as they view it.
And you'll see this lovely Danny and Denise, I think you're gonna love this. Look at this ceiling, look at this light fixture, it's all custom.
And Kevin also makes a pointed comment that I think goes over the kids' heads because they're not going to get it, but he says, privacy is an issue for us. Which is proven by the point that these kids and the family are all following them around because they learnt that Kevin Jonas was going to be there, therefore giving him no privacy. The irony. In the studio though with Mike and Nick, Mikey wanted to get into the studio of Nick because he feels like he could use some feedback on his single that he's set to release. Nick gives Mike very positive feedback, letting him know the new song is one of the best he's heard from Mike yet. However, sonically it's not really coming together for him.
Because the bridge is cool and it's super artistic, but if it was half as long with another hooky element, then I think you grab the audience a bit quicker, you know, to the max. But I think it's a good direction. Maybe figure out some of the effects and stuff.
Mike then goes on to mention that he is thinking of moving back out to LA, but he is given advice from Paul, who is a songwriter in the studio with them, and he says that LA can sometimes be more of a distraction than a good thing, where Nick counters it can also be fun to be in LA, which I don't doubt, it's probably very fun. All worries though, however, are put aside as Nick says that he will keep them in check when they are all in LA together. We have a bit of a scene change, a switch here, as we find the whole gang in the Institute of Culinary Education. We have the entire DeLisa family along with the Jonases taking a cooking class. All of this is for Danny's column with Cosmo, and I'm just going to say it now. Her family knows how to cook. They're all out here making these A-class dinners, and I could barely put toast in the toaster without burning it. I am working on it, don't worry. Bucky makes something great, but Danny does get on his ass about the fact that he hasn't written down any of the recipe or the measurements for it. I think he's got like little scribbles of things, but obviously for Cosmo, for the chef at Cosmo, they need to have the specifics on how to recreate these meals and dinners. Angela is just the same as Bucky though, they are two peas in a pod, and she also hasn't written down any measurements, which gives Bucky a little chuckle. Overhearing this though, Denise does make a silly comment, which could be taken as annoying in a moment like this, as it's not really helpful and no one asked.
I came from out of town, and I have mine written. Uh-oh.
It is giving pick me vibes just a little bit. Just seeing everyone's dishes though did make me very hungry. That was quite the impressive spread they managed to whip up all together. Back at the Danny and Kevin residence, the Cosmo crew arrive. The whole shoot involves the family, so that's really nice. And it revolves around an Italian family meal, which is iconic. Danny asks Dina to make sure that Angela and Katie will be ready in time for the photo shoot, as she doesn't want to delay anyone and doesn't want to make things hard for anyone, as this is basically her day, it's her shoot, she's the face of all of it. And I know I said it earlier, I'm going to say it again, Dina really did step up this season, and you could see what a great older sister she was because she really was there for Danny, this entire time. Danny once again though reiterates how important this day is and how important this Cosmo shoot is for her, because even if it doesn't land to her having a career with Cosmo, it's still a step in the right direction. Up in the master bedroom, the gang is hanging out, and by the gang I mean Mike, Danny, Dina and Katie. Mike somehow rolled his ankle and is in a full-blown cast on his right leg. Like, it looks kind of tragic, it looks like it hurts. Mike also jokes around that his and Joe's sex tape got out.
What happens in South America doesn't stay in South America.
Yeah.
And Kevin doesn't hold back. He goes into detail about what the blind item said about Joe and Mike. He says that there was a gag involved with chains and a whip, and it's just all that jazz. And I was like, oh my, that blind item did not hold back, and neither did Kevin. I mean, all the girlies are like, ooh, Kevin, that's enough. Like, stop it. He's just not getting it. Mikey, kind of being iconic though, says basically he would do what I would do in that scenario, and that's just run with it and start lying out your ass. Why not? I would have a field day just lying to the press. Kind of like Robert Pattinson, I guess. He is an icon for that. I love that, especially the one where I'm pretty sure, lied about putting foiled pasta in the microwave with sprinkles and glitter. Talking with Danny though, she goes over how in order to get this whole shoot together, She's had to go to many meetings about the menu, what it's going to be decorated like in the kitchen, and how the day is going to go. So life's been a bit hectic for her. The shoot starts with Danny and Kevin in the kitchen, and they're being all lovey-dovey. It's a very nice sight, and the videographer and photographer are eating it up. Upstairs in the master bedroom though, Katie is deciding what to wear for the shoot. She comes out wearing a low-cut black dress that is quite short. It's giving Housewives of Beverly Hills kind of. And everyone starts poking fun at her, and Angela is like, no, you aren't wearing that. To which I kind of agree with the mum. It's definitely not fitting the vibe of this Cosmo article of Danny's, and also because, as Angela pointed out, like, she's not on the cover. And I'm also uncertain of how old Katie is in this moment of the show. I think she's like 17 going for 18 or 18. Katie, however, is defensive and she's adamant that she will be wearing the dress for the shoot. In enters Charlie, the cosmopolitan stylist, and he has to be the rudest person ever. It's actually so mean what he says. He is looking at all of the clothes that Dina has picked out for the shoot, and he says that all of the things that he can see that Dina's picked out are the ugliest pieces of clothing he's ever seen.
I don't think that you should ever wear this. I'm like, don't take this the wrong way, but it's kind of the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Okay. So you should.
And I just think there was a way better way to go around it and talk to her rather than being rude and so unlikable. Angela also doesn't look too impressed with the comments he made, and I wouldn't either. It was so rude and so mean-spirited. This man definitely seems like someone who looks at people as if they are beneath him. It just was not necessary, sir. Stressed about Cosmo stylist Charlie's opinion, Angela calls him down to have a look at Bucky, as Bucky is in just, I think there's like really light blue shirt or a white shirt, I couldn't really tell. Basically, Bucky needs to get the okay from the stylist in order to wear his shirt for the magazine shoot. Bucky thinks it's ridiculous that they have to wait for someone else's approval on what they wear, and fair enough, I get it, but also at the end of the day, the magazine is a business and they need to make sure they look the best they can. Like, they have a certain image that they want to portray and uphold. However, that does not mean I'm a fan of Charles.
Well, let's hope that Charles says it's all right. What has my life come to?
Or that his behaviour is valid. Disaster strikes though, as during the shoot, one of the members absolutely smashed one of Kevin and Danny's lamps and it shatters everywhere. And I mean everywhere. I'm mostly concerned that a shard of glass or whatever landed into the cheesecake that I believe was on the table. That was devastating to see. Kevin and Danny though handle it really well. They both seem really chill about it, and Kevin takes a mentality I would take in a moment like that, and he just reminds the crew that it's all just stuff. It's all good. It's all just stuff. It can be replaced. Because same, I think nothing is really harmful unless, someone's died. It makes life a lot less stressful. It's definitely also less stressful though when you can immediately replace what is broken, when money isn't an issue. Danny does very well though to maintain her composure and says it is what it is and it's something she's going to have to deal with in, later after the shoot. She just needs to get through the shoot first. The battle of the outfits continues upstairs, and Katie has changed out of the black dress and into a white vest with a skirt. Bucky makes a comment that she looks like a cheerleader, and Katie isn't having it anymore. Poor Bucky gets into trouble with Katie and Angela, and I know his comment didn't help, especially not when everyone was already poking fun at Katie with her first choice of outfit, because obviously no one likes to be told that what they're dressed in isn't appropriate, as it can make you feel really self-conscious.
Kate, you're gonna have to leave it like this.
What are you, a cheerleader?
All right, you know what? It's not funny anymore because this is what I have to wear.
Charles eventually steps in though and gets Katie to change into a pair of skinny jeans and a nice white top with a cool jewel on it. However, matters don't get better because Angela swoops in and makes the last comment that just breaks the camel's back. She says,
Katie.
Yeah.
Wait, you changed?
Yeah.
Oh, did you get that out of my closet?
And I do feel bad for Katie because clearly no matter what she's wearing, she just isn't winning today. And Katie, because of this, has a complete breakdown in one of Danny and Kevin's many guest bedrooms in their mega mansion. She says to Angela that she is very self-conscious and she feels extremely uncomfortable. Angela continues to reassure her that she looks great and that she does though need to fix her face from all the crying. Next up on the photo shoot, Kevin, Denise and Angela sit down for a moment where Kevin's eating this cream kind of thing and the two women are watching him. Danny, whilst this happens, gives Angela a lot of pointers on how to pose, and it's not in an overbearing way or anything, it's just really sweet. She really wants her mum to be comfortable in the moment. Next up for the shoot is Dina, Danny, Mike, Kevin and Katie. They're all sat at a table with the dinner around. It looks like they're having a family meal, and the three of them are sat at the table when And by the three of them, I mean Dina, Katie, and Danny at this minute. When they notice, though, that Dina's shirt is the same kind of shade of blue as the tablecloth. Clearly, though, it wasn't that much of an issue as we see the photo shoot continue and Dina's still wearing the same shirt. Probably because Charlie said everything else she had was ugly. The meanie. But I think they solve it by having Dina stand up behind the girls and not directly in front of the tablecloth, so you don't see how close in colour the fabrics are. The photo shoot comes to a close though, and everyone is in good spirits, and we love to see that Danny had a very successful day that she had planned, and it really was her thing for once, so I'm so glad it all went well.
I'm blown away. It would have been a lot for me to handle, so the fact that she handled it so well, I'm really proud of her.
3 days later though, Mike is on his way to leave for LA. His car has been shipped out and he will be finding himself on a flight that same evening. Bucky and Mike have a chat at the dinner table where Bucky asks Mike if he wouldn't think of reconsidering maybe to become a teacher at home. Obviously, Mike's not going to do that. He's very set on the fact that he wants to be a musician. My poor guy, though, Bucky just wants his family together. He's kind of like Dina. He's seeing it all fall apart a little bit. However, though, Bucky is clearly proud of his son, as he says he admires his passion and says Mike works very hard for what he wants. Kevin interrupts the nice moment between the father and son, as he lets Mikey know though that if he does not leave now, he's going to miss his flight. So it was a very valid interruption. My poor guy, though, Bucky again gets teary-eyed and choked up as he talks about Mike leaving them, and he is such a softie. Give Bucky his own show. Everyone waves Mike off as he gets into his Uber and heads off to the airport, and they all tell him he better come back famous, otherwise they don't want him back. He's banned from New Jersey. So with Mikey setting off to LA, the day comes to a close. And then we come to the new day. Danny is working on her Cosmo article in the office, and it's going well. She's very excited about it, and Kevin is proud of her. The two of them embrace one another, and they talk about being busy and having accomplished goals, and how they don't know what the future holds for them, but they are sure it's going to be good. The show kind of ends with a montage, a recap if you want to call it as well, of the season. It's just Danny and Kevin talking about being excited for the next phases of their life. And with that, Married to Jonas is over. That brings 2 seasons of the show to a close, but that doesn't mean the video ends here. I still have a few things to say. I won't lie, I was a little bit surprised that season 2 did not end with a pregnancy announcement. I really thought that's what they were going to do with season 2, but I'm kind of glad they didn't. They focused on Danny being a girl boss. And again, love to see it. I think though the show truly got cancelled because they didn't utilise Bucky enough. They cut his screen time completely in season 2. That was the biggest mistake they ever made. I wasn't happy with that. I don't think anyone who was watching was happy with that. And it's not good enough, Exactly, they should be better at doing this. What dum-dums they were, they really paid the ultimate price. But yeah, in all reality though, it was cancelled due to low ratings. Not enough people were tuned in to the drama of Kevin Jonas. Because I mean, there was drama, but it wasn't high stakes drama, it wasn't very memorable drama. Last year, fun fact, it actually marked the 10-year anniversary of Married to Jonas. There were talks of a reboot happening, as they do rerun the show on E! Or so I read in an article. Kevin even said doing Married to Jonas was really fun. He said at times it was difficult. Doing a reality show is always a challenge, but for us doing a show was great. However, I am aware it has been a year since Kevin mentioned going back to Married to Jonas, so that is probably not happening. However though, I wouldn't mind a season 3 of Married to Jonas. I wouldn't complain if they aired it. I want to see how Danny and Kevin have grown and what their life looks like now and how everyone else is doing. But Kevin is also busy with another reality show at the minute. He's a co-host with Frankie Jonas on the show Claim to Fame, where I think people who are Nepo babies are told to live without their Nepo parents and just navigate life in this Big Brother kind of style thing, I think. I didn't look into it, that's what I think it is. And it's been running for 3 seasons, so that's 1 season longer than Married to Jonas, and it seems to be doing alright. So good for them, I'm happy for them. Mike is still touring with the Jonas Brothers, which I'm very happy to see. He only just recently posted about touring with them, and he goes by Delisa, and he no longer plays his own music, but he does DJ. And he actually made a remix of the Jonas Brothers songs Wings, which is cool. It's nice to see him still in the music scene. As well as that, he is also the founder of the company Lavel? I'll put it on the screen, and it's basically an accessories brand. Dina, I mentioned earlier, she is focused on cooking and she's doing really well with it. She posts a ton of stuff on Instagram, and she's also made appearances on Good Morning America as well as the Today Show. She is also a very busy woman, as she is set to release a cookbook devotional in 2025. Danny seems to be vibing. I mean, her and Kevin finally had the kids that she really wanted to have. She's had 2 girls. Danny and Kevin seem happy there, and hey, they're still together, so that's good. And Danny also has a luxury jewelry company. I don't think it's really popping off, but she's got it. And I think it's in a boutique store somewhere in New York. Angela and Bucky, good news, they're still doing well, they're still alive. I was really worried that my manzy, Bucky, had kicked the bucket or something, because in season 1 he did have the whole health scare with him having had a heart attack, so I was concerned. But no, he's alive, he's well, and he's doing great. And finally, Katie is also doing well. She owns a boutique called Sora, and it focuses on slow fashion and vintage pieces. In other news as well, Katie is engaged. So I believe she'll be getting married this year, which is great, so congratulations to her. Anyway though, that's the end now of this video. Thank you for joining me on season 1 and season 2 of Married to Jonas. If you haven't already checked out Married to Jonas, I'll put it up at the end here for you to click on. But yeah, let me know if you ever watched this show. Will you ever watch this show if you haven't watched the show? Or was this recap enough? The recap probably was enough. Let me know what other shows you want me to do a long recap of or a deep dive on. I actually enjoyed doing something different for once than a Disney Channel show. So yeah, I already have plans for my next deep dive and I'm very excited about it. It's very on theme for me. Anyway, check out one of these videos. I'll put up the part 1 recap up here and I'll put something else down here, whatever I think. You know, who knows? Maybe I won't choose anything. It might be blank. That'd be quite funny. So yeah, I've talked enough. I'm so tired. I feel ill. So you better check one of these out. Thank you. Hope to see you around. Okay. Bye-bye. Ooh.